Today, we will look at the last week's trades, talk about winners and losers. It was a crazy week with manipulated price action due to the endless economic data. We will do a full analysis about how to get a bias, how to use order blocks, the magic combination of three structures, and then sniper scalping with low time frame charts. This will be extremely detailed trading video. Hope you do not miss it. If you're ready, let's start. Welcome our free trading course, all about price action trading strategies and smart money concepts. If you love scalping and day trading, or even swing trading, and looking for special trading strategies, check out my free trading course. You can find the links on Google Drive or directly from my website, which is in the description. Okay, we just ended a crazy week with wins and losses, and very heavy economic data with disturbed price action. Last week, I noticed this 4-hour liquidity pool forming at the bottom. So, my main bias was quite bearish at the beginning of the week, before this liquidity pool swept. Let's try to understand the price movement. Price filling the giant imbalances, and sweeping the internal liquidity, and then it drops. And you can notice the same thing happening right here. Fill the imbalance and sweep the internal liquidity and then drop. Notice the exact same thing happening right at this point. It happened 3 times. All designed for the final action, which is hunting the 4-hour liquidity pool below. So, this was my early swing trading idea, by only looking at a single time frame. If you're having a hard time scalping, you can build these very easy swing trading ideas just by noticing the simple pattern. Since I had a bearish bias with liquidity pool, I already started to look for short trading opportunities for scalping, generally using the 30-minute time frame. There is nothing special about 30 minutes. Remember, the best time frame is the one that has the clearest structures. It is that simple. Notice this pattern. Price sweeps the equal highs and tapping the 30-minute BPR. There is actually a manipulation pattern here which I will teach in the masterclass later on. If we get a closer look at the low time frames, you can notice the very strong structure shift right at this point, and the price pulling back to the premium zone and tapping the 4-minute imbalance. Again, is this 4-minute special time frame? No, not at all. I used 4 minutes because it has the clearest structure. I can use 17 minutes, 32 minutes, or 7 minutes. I do not care about the time frames. I want to see clear things, clear imbalances, clear order blocks, clear breaks, and so on. Then price swept the Asian high, right below the imbalance, and left the Asia session low open. If you look closely at it, Asia low was actually a relative equal lows as well, which made my targeting much stronger. Now, getting even closer look at with 2 minutes right here. You can notice price struggles right around this order block, cannot pass or break. Then finally shifted the structure inside. Even if it was a weak break, I have so much confirmation to go short here. Then something happened which I like a lot. An imbalance, an order block, a breaker block. 3 of them got stuck together. And the intersection of these 3 structures is very important. It gives you a clear entry point. As for targets or midway take profit, you can notice the parabolic liquidity below, right above this giant imbalance. This is where you can close your trade or take a big profit by selling all your risk. However, our main target was obvious, the Asia low with equal lows. I think this was a perfect masterclass take retreat. If price action is not disturbed, these setups are amazing. Let's talk about another great trade, and then we'll talk about a perfect trade setup that ended with a stop loss. So, from the higher time frames like 30 minutes, I already noticed this. This parabolic liquidity is taken out with a strong wick, which again collides with a balanced price range. Another important thing was that this was the previous week high, an institutional price level swept. Again, my eyes looking for possible targets even before looking for an entry. I believe that you can see this magnificent retail trendline combined with this mega imbalance. The targets that I love the most in this world. After the secondary internal swing failure pattern, the structure shifted inside. Then, the same thing happened again. Three structure combination. An imbalance, an order block, a breaker block. All gathered at the same price level. Even though there were imbalances above, I had to try this trade. This was very fast. I just did a quick market sell until my main target. As you can see, I never push my luck. I find the closest targets and try to end my trades or take profits as soon as possible. Because no one knows anything. This is trading. You enter and you get out, especially if you are a scalper. Let's talk about this stop loss. In my opinion, this was a perfect trade setup. After the previous week's high sweep, price showed bearish vibes by breaking the structures below. After the last break of structure, the price moved back to the premium zone around EQ level. I noticed these two particular equal lows below. In my opinion, for a healthy movement, the price had to sweep at least one of them. Also, we had this Asia low here still waiting to be swept. As you notice, the imbalances was pushing the price low. From this 3-minute order block, the price made a very strong internal reaction. Also changed the structure shift in the internal levels. After this BPR, I wanted to carry the price down at least to these equal lows, but it failed. It is mainly caused by expected CPI and inflation data after 2 hours. It was already disturbing the price action and smart money rules. However, if I see this setup anywhere else, I'll take it again without hesitation. These are perfect losses. If I lose my money, I will lose it like this. I will lose my money with my own rules. You should never get upset with such a stop loss. Okay folks, another adventure ends here. As always, all these trading methods are suitable for scalping, day trading, or even swing trading. I believe that it will be really helpful in your trading life. I hope you subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thank you, please take care and see you soon.